Hi, I'm Steve Ledoux, Town Manager here in Acton, and welcome to the Acton Agenda. This is a show about the upcoming Selectmen's meeting and what issues the board will be talking about at that meeting. The next Selectmen's meeting is Monday, September 26th at 7 p.m. in room 204 of Town Hall. With me today is Selectman Ching-Sung Chang. Ching-Sung, I think you're in your second year as a board member. So yes. Ching-Sung's here to kind of help with the discussion on the agenda today. So welcome, Ching-Sung, and glad you could make it. And
thank you.
Maybe we can start talking about the agenda. So.
Yeah, sure. The first item on the agenda, well, the first two items in the agenda are change in manager applications for a couple different restaurants in the town. Typically, these are obviously approved by the BOS, but I don't expect there to be really any much issue or contention on these. I believe Steve would agree with me here.
Right. I mean, just typically because liquor licenses are involved and the board issues liquor licenses, anytime there's a change in manager, the board needs to approve that to make sure they have a comfort level with whoever that next manager will be. And then the Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission also has to approve once we approve. So it's a kind of a two-step process.
Yep. Those are the first two items on the agenda. The third will be an update on the early voting, which will be happening for the election in November. We have, 10 dates, is it?
We have, I think, 10 dates, something like that, right?
Yeah. And so you'll be able to see those, and where will those be?
Well, they're going to be up in room 204 of Town Hall, and this is a new change in law that's really just for the presidential election. But it will enable people, instead of getting an absentee ballot, if they can't or are not able to vote on Election Day, November 8th, there will be some opportunities for citizens to vote. So they will all be at Town Hall. It's going to be just like you usually vote. The voting machine will be up in room 204. It's going to actually start on Monday, October 24th. That'll be the first day folks could vote. That night we'll be going for 12 hours, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then we'll be showing all the other dates, but basically it's going to go Monday through Saturday the first week, Monday October 24th to Saturday October 29th, and then Monday October 31st to Friday November 4th, and then after that folks would have to wait for Election Day November 8th. So there's going to be let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 7 of those dates will where the poll will be open till 8 p.m. and the other dates till 5. So a lot of opportunities for folks to vote if they have something else to do. And generally, presidential elections are notorious for long lines and sometimes taking a lengthy time to vote. So hopefully this will alleviate some of the crowds and things like that.
So yeah, that's a good thing that we're doing, and we'll remind everybody, make sure you get out and vote this election. Okay. It's always an important thing to do.
Absolutely.
So I guess the fourth item on the agenda is a presentation by the Acton Nursing Service. So Steve, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what the...
Sure. About, I guess, 2 years ago now, the Board of Selectmen put together a Acton Nursing Services task force, and their primary purpose was to figure out and make recommendations on how the Acton Nursing Service could better promote itself, better do public relations, just to get the word out, because it's the type of service where they need patients, and there is some competition from other nursing services like at Emerson Hospital. So the task force has been together for a couple years. They've made recommendations on advertising, et cetera. We've implemented a lot of that. They're going to come in with a recommendation. I think their primary recommendation is going to be that this task force, it'll probably have a different name, but will stay in place and provide recommendations to the nursing service on marketing forever. So making it a permanent committee to deal with marketing and public relations. So that, I think, will be the recommendation they bring to the Board of Selectmen on Monday evening for the board to consider.
All right, and so we look forward to talking about that. The next item on the agenda is to discuss comments on a 40B permit for Martin Street. And I know we've already received quite a few comments on this subject. This is sort of a different type of discussion because it's not under the board standard site plan special permit authority. And so I don't know if Steve wants to talk a little bit about that or what this discussion will entail and sort of what the board can and can't do at this upcoming meeting.
Okay, thanks. So basically, just to kind of by background, this is a housing development that is being proposed under Chapter 40B. Chapter 40B is a state law that is there to encourage affordable housing. And if there's a housing project that has at least 25% of the units deemed affordable, the whole project counts as affordable, and it can trump any local zoning bylaws or any local bylaws. Why it's important is that the state has set a standard that every community should have 10% of their housing stock as affordable. And right now Acton's about 6.9%, a little under 7% with affordable units. So we can't really, it's very difficult to turn these projects down. The board can try to maybe change appearances, change the number of units, maybe, but ultimately you can't. They can have a greater density than zoning allows for, and things like that. Once we get to 10%, then we can just say no to these projects. But the trick is to get that last 3.1%. So this project that's being proposed on where is it on? Excuse me,
it's on
Martin Street. Is really for the selectmen to give some input and make comments, because the first step is that this project has to be approved by the state. The state has to deem that it's affordable and that it meets certain things that they look at. So the board's task really is to have a presentation on the project, ask questions, and submit comments to Mass Housing, and Mass Housing will determine if it's an eligible project. And then once they determine that, the Acton Zoning Board of Appeals has to hold hearings, but once again, their authority is somewhat limited because these projects do trump local zoning. So the board is going to consider this, make some recommendations to the state on the project.
All right. So thank you, Steve. And I guess the last item that is on the agenda, well, that isn't on the consent agenda, is a discussion on sort of the upcoming elections for the municipal planning organization for the Boston area. And so, Steve, I don't know if you want to give some background on the MPO, as well as what the board will be talking about.
Well, the Metropolitan Planning Organization is kind of a clearinghouse that it's a planning organization that represents a lot of sub-planning groups in kind of the metropolitan Boston area. So the organization is important because they help prepare what is called the Transportation Improvement Program. That is, in essence, the capital plan for Mass Department of Transportation. So if there are state funds that are available, and Acton, for example, wants to get some state funds for a road project or things like that, you have to get on that Transportation Improvement Plan. So this is the entity that ultimately makes decisions on what projects will be on the tip and what year they'd be recommending funding for. So what the board is going to be talking about is that we're in a subregion that's called MAGIC, and MAGIC stands for the Minuteman Area Governments in Cooperation, and they have a representative that sits on the MPO. So we're going to be discussing if the board wants to nominate somebody to represent MAGIC at the MPO. In the past, in the last couple of years, it's been Rick Reed, who's the town manager in Bedford. I think you still might be interested. Also, another person I think who may be seeking nomination is Keith Bergman, who's the town manager in Littleton. So the board will decide if they want to support one of these candidates or nominate somebody else, and ultimately I think each chair of each board of selectmen ultimately gets a vote down the road once the nominations are closed. So it's a little bit of a Byzantine process, but bottom line, the MPO is important. It kind of helps chart out grants and when we might be eligible for grants and what year and things like that.
Well, that's good. And I guess on the consent agenda, we have two items. The first is a sign request for the Acton Women's Club, and the second is a one-day alcoholic beverage license for an event at NARA.
Correct.
I guess the one-day alcoholic beverage license is obviously under the board's purview as a liquor license granting authority. I don't know, Steve, you want to touch on why we need to grant the sign request?
Well, what's interesting about the town center is that the town common is actually more than just where the monument is. Kind of the width of Main Street, a good portion of that width that's grass is actually part of town common. So some of the grass area in front of the women's club, for example, is town property. So anything that gets placed on town property, the Board of Selectmen have to approve. In this case, they want to put a sign up because they're having a pie sale. And generally the board doesn't have problems with it, but it's just that anytime anything gets put in town property or town right-of-way, the board needs to approve that.
All right, so I guess that is the agenda for the meeting on Monday.
Okay.
And we look forward to hearing from you if you're going to come out. And obviously, please feel free to contact the board or the Acton TV with any questions that you might have.
Great, and thank you for being on, Ching Sung. And I'd like to thank the viewers. Once again, this has been the Acton Agenda for the Selectmen's meeting of September 26th at 7 p.m. up at room 204 of Town Hall. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
All right.